Hey tubies, we're back and I'll show you what I'm planning on doing now. This will be the final version of the motor mount and actually get on and do something. So let's get on and see what I'm planning on doing now. So I think I've boycotted the idea of the cradle system, wherever that is gone now. I was looking at the mounts. I bought an extra set of the BMW ones, which are these ones. Quite substantial. They still look like they're in very good condition. The rubber doesn't look deteriorated, although it may well be, but I'm sure these parts are replaceable. At what cost, I don't know. I think it's quite expensive to replace. It's going to get repurposed now. Yeah, off camera I took a grinder to them. Basically looked like this before, which I don't know if that's the correct part for. So they basically look like that before. This one I haven't cut too straight. I'm going to recut that one. That is the, I think this is the more straighter one of the two, unlike those two. So yeah, you can see the difference in the line there. Made a right pick zero out, but I'm still going to cut it down. This part came along, sort of started from zero and then went quite way up there on the angle, which I thought I was cutting straight there, but obviously not. Must have gone to the same school as the guy that made these engine mounts. What I'm planning to do now is utilise an existing subframe and using these mounts, and they've got holes for fixings on these mounts as well. That one's still got one of the original brackets attached to it, which I won't be using, I don't think. I've got no reason to. I don't know where the other one is anyway. It might have still been attached to the engine somewhere, long gone now. That is going to get mounted on there like that. I'm gonna make another bracket, I think, on the underside of this, and I may weld it in so this can mount to. So what I'm thinking of doing is I might drill a hole here, one mounting fixing point. I'm gonna plug weld that hole because it's too near the edge now, and re-drill it more center. And then with my newly fitted plate on there, that will get mounted onto the plate, and that will give me a base, and it's sort of at the right angle as well, aiming at the engine mount. So that will give me my base foundation. So I've got two of those obviously. So what I'm going to do, and also I can work on this with the frame off the car, so I can drop the subframe and I can mount all this stuff to the subframe and get all the plates made up and welded with a bit more ease. So let's go ahead and drop the subframe and pop it on the bench and have a look what we're going to do. So with the aid of CAD, cardboard aided design, I've come up with this little template. I think should be sufficient. So there's a bit of a ledge there, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it so happens to be the same thickness as my metal plate, thereabouts. Not much in it really, it's quite flush with that. And also, I don't know if you can see it on camera, that sort of dips down there. I was going to cut the plate across. I was going to cut the plate across, but it'll be up in the air there. So I've come up with this. This will be the little plate. That's going to get welded in there, I think, like that. This piece actually carries on going straight round. Yeah, if you can see that, it goes. That's a big plate there that goes straight across. I was wondering whether I need to add a bit of support to the overhanging bit. I don't think it's really necessary. I may do. I want to see where the bolts end up actually. That's what my main concern is. If it ends up too close to there, you've got the welded part of the toe eye there. But I've got flexibility because I'm going to weld that hole shut. I'm going to blank that hole off. So that's going to sit like, actually it's going to sit on top of that. You see where the round Sharpie circle is? I'm probably going to put a fix in there, which will be in the air there. So I think I'm happy with that. Let's start to do this all one-handed. Right, so that's going to go like that. That'll be my new plate. And that's going to mount as such. If you can see that there. So I've got a little bit of overhang. and I'm going to see where the bolt hangs out. Depending on how much overhang I've got where the bolt is, I may put some front lips on it like that, just as a bit of extra support. I'm going to get this welded on first. Let me go ahead and cut these out first. I need 2 of these, and with these leftover brackets that I had made originally, so I'm going to mark these up and cut them out, and we'll come back. 2 plates are now cut. This one was cut with the jigsaw, and this one was with the grinder. This jigsaw blade died after about doing less than half of that. The reason that's a wonky edge is because I cut it off one of these spare bits of metal that I had, which does happen to have a curved edge on it. That's why, but I'm not too fussed because that edge is going to get welded up. So these are the 2 plates then. They're going to be the base. These are going to get welded on now on the... So if you see what I mean, these sit flat with the lip of the main beam there as well. So what will happen, I'll leave a small gap, and I'll mark that off, so I've got the clean edges. I'll weld that in place like that, then I'll flip it over, and then I'll follow from the inside that edge as well and join it all up again nicely. So that should be fairly solid, and that will give me 2 base plates, and I've got one for this side as well. Do exactly the same. I'll measure them so they're pretty much exact. If you can see the hole there on this one. So I've cleaned the plates up, these plates. So I've just cleaned up the edges. This particular side I've cleaned it around with a grinder, so all back to shiny metal. I've pretty much clamped this side on. I'm going to do one side first. I want to go ahead and weld it all up this plate. So let's go ahead and weld this up, and then we'll come back when I've done that. So the 2 plates are now welded in. You can't flip it over in a minute so you can see. I've welded the front edge in, and I've also welded the underside across. So let's have a quick look. That's me, Stevie Wonder, welding impersonation there. It's okay, it's not looking great. And on this side I did it with my eyes open, so that looks a little bit better on that side. I'm hoping number 2 is better than number 1. So let's flip the underside so you can see what I mean. So there's me, that's my Stevie Wonder underside welding. You can see what I mean. So I've reinforced the edge along there on the bottom, and there's my eyes open welding on the other side. Bit better. I was still trying to work out technique for welding. That's why it looks like a big pile of poo there on that side. Welding thicker steel is a lot different to welding normal conventional car steel. So yeah, it's a different technique altogether, I think. But I'm not really, it's the first time I've welded thicker steel, to be honest. So I'm hoping I've sort of got the gist of it a little bit on this side. It looks a bit more uniform. What I'm thinking of doing now for adding extra rigidity is, like, see with this part, it's got like a underskirt going round. I'm thinking doing the same here, putting a short skirt on here. No giggling in the back, please. Putting a short skirt on here and down, and just so it'd be an extra bit of strength going down, and just probably welding it up to here. So I think what I'm going to do, I might cut like a centimetre strip, and as I'm welding it, when I get to the edge there, I might just tap it with a hammer just to give me my next edge, come down. So I'm going to go ahead and cut 2 thin strips of this same material, this same thickness material. So went ahead, one of the skirts on, no giggling in the back there, please. So this is one of the, that's the top side weld, so I'm happy with that. I'm going to sit the engine mount on top of that, and anything that's overhanging that may need flattening down, I can just take it down with the grinder on the flat wheel. Let's have a look. So I've welded round the outside edge. That's all seam welded round now on the skirt part. Let's flip it over and you can see the underside. Okay, tubies, so we went ahead and we welded up the little skirts. No laughing in the back over there. So let's have a look what the welding process is, and we'll see what stage we're at now. So let's just take a look at the welding I've just did. So these are the downward support plates that I've put. This is the underside of it now. This is flipped like that. This is flipped like a pancake now. I just whacked it with a wire wheel. So that's fully seam sealed now, top and bottom. This is obviously the new plate, which is still a bit hot. Let me flip it over so you can see the overall finished plates now. Let's take a look on the underside. Plates in question. So that's the underside still with this side profile. I could still dress them round with a flat wheel just to take some of the big welds down, but I'm not overly bothered, to be honest, because it's just a chassis part. Plus I'm going to give it a coat of some kind of chassis paint. Okay, just a side note quickly then, can anyone recommend what people use for chassis parts? Somebody at work recommended, he just did his car with Hammerite underseal, I think, or chassis paint. But if I'm going to do this, obviously if that's sufficient, that's fine, I'll take that. Any advice would be good on painting, stripping back and repainting these by hand. I'm thinking I might just order some epoxy primer just to hit the, once it's all stripped, I might hit the whole thing with some epoxy primer first, which I understand is quite a good primer now to use, and then I'll find some kind of suitable chassis paint to whack on top. Anyway, back to the story in hand. So these are the two chassis plate fixing mounting super duper evolution version 3.0 now. So that's the underside. This is obviously the front where the eye hooks are. So that's one plate, that's the second plate. So I'd say now my plates are ready to take the... In other news, wake up! In other news, I've tried to give these back to the eBay seller with my wonky... with my wonky Chevy, what's its name, big block something or another engine mounts, and he will not take them back for the life of him. He offered me all sorts of offers. He wanted me to pay and he would just send me out a fresh set, and then he talked me out of sending them back. It'd be too much trouble and wasted time on my part. I think they will just drop shipping, to be honest with you. So basically the result we've come to is he's refunded me half the cost of these. So I think I paid 35 for these, so he's given me back £17. So I might still be able to use the parts. Obviously I won't be using these, but I could, even if I cut the them bits off and them bits off. Anyway, so I've got those now for £17 pretty much, and it's quite a substantial bit of metal there. So back to this question. Right, this one still needs cutting back, I think, because it wasn't a very straight cut on the old doodah. Because the second one I cut straight, it went through the middle hole of that fixing. Two, these are going to get bolted on to the plates, these are. Obviously it won't have these bits, so ignore that big piece hanging off there. I'm going to have to weld up that hole, and I've sort of marked out a new fixing hole. So let's go with this one for now. I'm probably going to do some flat wheeling of them welds to get those grinds down a bit. So these will get bolted now to my new super duper fixing plates. Then I'm probably going to make another plate which will bolt onto that, and then on that plate my next creation will be, and then I'm going to get some of this 2-inch box section and I'm going to weld that onto the plate, and then this will go up. This will go up, and where I have my mounting plates for the motor, it will just come straight up, and I will weld it. I will seam weld it round onto the plate, and hopefully that should all work perfectly. So hopefully we'll see you in the next one with a bit more progress. Until then, have a cup of tea.